And he's born with all his teeth. They've got 80 teeth, 40 on top, 40 on the bottom. Each tooth, if you look, it comes to a point. It's cone-shaped or conical is the correct term. So no molars, no square chewing teeth. This guy's mouth isn't designed to chew. It's designed to grab, hold, and tear. Whatever he can rip off, he simply just swallows it whole. Now each tooth has a shelf life of 1.5 years and then it falls out. So this guy's always having to replace teeth. Inside his mouth, he's hypersensitive to touch. So the slightest touch inside will trigger a reflex for him to bite. That reflex is supposed to happen pretty quick. That was kind of weak. Getting there. So he'll use that ability, he'll go underwater, open his mouth, and he waits for fish to come in. Now in the wild, these guys will tend to have a dirty mouth, so it's going to be filled with algae. Well, that algae, it acts as bait, so brim swim in there, they go to pick off that algae, and that slight pressure, that slight touch inside, triggers his mouth to close. And so that's how one of the ways he's able to catch fish. Now that pop sound you hear, that's actually his bones colliding. So he's coming down with a lot of pressure. You can remove every tooth in his mouth, and if he bit you, he would still probably fracture your hand or break your arm, depending on where he bit you. So there's a lot of power in that chomp there. Is there any questions so far? Anybody probably could. He acts with me the same as my first day. He's just accustomed to people. Now he'll still bite you. He bit a guy 3 Fridays ago. I think it's 3 Fridays ago. So he'll still bite, but he's not going to go out of his way to do it unless you mess with him. Now, I've got the skull of a pretty good size gator here. This thing was probably close to 13 foot. Skull size. This is a big alligator. Kind of dwarfs Charlie's skull. So, close to 13 foot and at least 600 plus pounds. So big animal. But since these guys are instinctual animals, they don't have the brain size. Like 5 based off instinct. So straight from an egg, he was pre-programmed to survive. He already understood how to hunt. It's not anything he had to learn. The drawback with an alligator is they are very powerful and they are very explosive, but they lack endurance. So he can run 25 for like 40 or 50 feet, then he's tired. He's tired himself out and he's done. The length of this structure is 60 to kind of give you some length comparison. Now in the water, he can swim about 15 miles per hour, and just like on land, he's limited. So for 50 to 60 feet, he can swim at top speed, but then he'll wear out and he'll have to stop. He'll have to cease movement. Now, that big tail is what pushes him through the water, and that big tail also is responsible for his leaping ability. This guy can come straight out of the water 3/4 of his own body length. So in his case, that would be 7 foot straight up. So these guys are athletic, they just lack endurance, so you can't keep it going for very long. Now the Native Americans we have here, they use him as a food source. We've got Seminole Indians. So they use him as this food source, but in the 1930s, this road got put in by the influence. Doing this for quite a while, so he's never really been hurt by people, and he's fed really well, and so that kind of eliminates in that little brain, I'm not a source of food, and I'm also not a threat. So therefore, I don't really mean anything to him until I cross one of those lines. I don't ever intend on being a source of food. Now, once you grab a gator by his snout with 2 hands, he actually can't open his mouth. It gets your hand strained. On display is his jaw muscle. That's that big mass there. A lot of people think it's a double chin. That is not fat, that is muscle. If I was throwing something big with a little bit of bone in it that he actually had to crush and crunch on, you could see that muscle going to work. It flexed. Well, that's the problem. With nature, it's a give and take. So remember, nature gave him all this power and explosiveness, but they took away his endurance. Well, nature gave him all this power to bite, took away his power to actually open up. So that's one of his limiting factors. And so the natives capitalize on that. So you get 2 hands around here, or you can get a rope around there. He can't break that rope. He can't open against your hamstring. Well, I'm in a precarious position, though. Before I sat down, I would have tied a rope around my waist, tied at the rear. I'm by myself and I got to figure out a way to hold his head and untie that rope. And so they had the multitasking. This is what they came up with. So we call it bulldog and alligator.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
And so any kind of pressure, since he's a bottom jaw, you know, that's where the movement is the bottom jaw. Any kind of pressure at this angle is enough pressure to keep his mouth shut against his will. And because of two factors. One is I'm adding pressure, but number two is he's adding pressure. He's trying to move forward, so our pressure is combining. He's just working against himself and doesn't realize it. So that's where the wrestling came from. Now, the shows have been going on for 80 plus years, so there's actually several other tricks you can do off the back of an alligator. I just can't do most of them because of insurance, you know, restrictions basically. But I do have a good one I can do. So what I just did was a technique. Now what I'm going to do, this is a trick. So this is for entertainment. And it's very similar to what I just did, except this time his mouth will be open. But these soft spots is what I call them. They're actually filled with soft tissue, and then they have nerve endings that connect to that brain, and that gives him the ability to pick up sound vibration in the water. These guys can hear from an incredible distance. They do what's called a bellow, and usually it's for mating purposes.